Welcome to my Always Casual series where I take a casual look at games. I sometimes only have a couple of hours here and there to dive into a game, and so this series will take a casual gander at different games, especially online or MMOs, and just share my thoughts. I'm not a hardcore player, and I guarantee that I am probably not very good at any of these games that I'll be playing in general. I'm really just a dude looking to casually play and have some fun. I'm never late, and it's never late to play Path of Exile. For today's Always Casual series, I'll take a casual look at Path of Exile and also a bit at their new season, Settlers of Kalguur, that was released on July 26th. So what is Path of Exile? Path of Exile is a free online isometric action RPG that is developed by Grinding Gear Games that was released back in 2013. It has continued to be updated quite rigorously and hosts a thriving and dedicated community and development team to ensure the success of this game. So far through my casual playthrough, I've played through Acts 1 and 2 primarily, and I've touched into some of the foundational mechanics of this, for example, the settlement building and city management that is found in the Settlers of Kalguur season. What I want to do is just go over my thoughts on the gameplay, story, UI, and just overall that kind of, I would say, first couple of hours of experience when playing Path of Exile. Also taking a look at some of the new features in the new season just to kind of sprinkle that in as well, since I did find them to be quite rewarding and honestly really expand upon my time playing this game and how much fun I had, I think, even compared to the previous playthrough that I had done, which I don't remember exactly what season it was, but the new settlement building and city management really, I thought, brought this game to life even more so than it did before. Alright, so let's just get into it. And the first area I want to cover is going to be gameplay. And one aspect of gameplay that I found that they did, an excellent job on delivering on is going to be the abilities. So abilities are going to be based on your gems that you socket into your gear, such as your weapons and your armor. And each gem will usually have either kind of an ability or an ability modifier attribute that is on it. And you would socket that into your armor, your gear. And if you have a potential to have a linked socket, you can also add on another gem that can then modify it and make that ability interact slightly different, right? I had one that allowed me to do that attack as like a shadow as well, so I could be able to hit multiple targets on what was originally like either just like a single target ability, or a close range ability can then be modified to have it be a bit more medium range. So really I would say your ability choices can become, exponentially more exciting and different possibilities on how you want to play your character. So that, to me, that's probably one thing I think that Path of Exile has done the best out of any other action RPG that I played, whether it be Diablo or 2 or 4. Played some 3 as well, but I don't remember it that much. Or even Last Epoch, for example, which I do find Last Epoch a really fun game. I think Path of Exile has done this ability system incredible, and it feels so rewarding whenever you get a new gem, just to be able to figure out like, is this one that I can use? Where can I put this? So that leads into like the abilities make for fantastic, I would say, excitement over your playstyle and your class fantasy that you have. So I have the ability to choose my own abilities based on the gems that I socket into my gear, and that allows me to create my own playstyle. So for example, I think the starting off character I had was a duelist, and so because of the way that the abilities I can choose some abilities that work better with dual wielding, or some that work better with two-handed. So already I can start to have like multiple types of ways that I can play a duelist and start to make that playstyle my own. And then I can also choose if I want to be, modify my abilities to be more mid-range attacks or up close melee attacks. Those things, even just already there, you have just kind of like a, almost, I would say, kind of an exponential increase of the way that you can play a certain class, right? So the replayability to me would be amazing for being able to play a duelist. I can play it in many different ways, and I don't need to kind of play the same formula over and over and over again. I would say in terms of like class fantasy and playstyle, Path of Exile has really nailed it down. And one other thing I want to touch on, just related to class fantasy abilities and gameplay, is just the progression and how they have and how they made it feel, especially from like an early level. And also as a casual player, is I did not feel at all bombarded by a filled up ability bar by level 2 where I have like 5 or 6 abilities on my toolbar that I have no idea like what they do. Each ability comes with a gem that you read in, and you have to find out you have to find a specific piece of gear that works with it. So that means that you're looking at your gear as well. And so you have this kind of nice, I would say, attachment almost that you become to any gear piece that you pick up. Is like, oh, what socket does it have? Does it have a socket that I can use for a gem that I had picked up? So I became a lot more, I would say, like engrossed into the gear and the gems and like just the loot that I was picking up, which especially for this type of game, having that affinity to your loot makes it that much more exciting to go out and just kill monsters and get more loot. So I think they did that core gameplay loop of just like go out, kill monsters, get loot, upgrade, level up. I found that cycle really, really exhilarating, specifically within Path of Exile. So also touching into your class fantasy and related to, I would say, your play style is going to be just a massive passive skill tree that you're given. And so for each class, you are going to have options from this passive skill tree to kind of design the character and how you want to play. So this passive skill tree is that you'll start off from the starting point of whatever your class is, and you can work your way through that tree, I believe, however you want. I haven't played it through it all the way to like see, how far you can actually make it by the time you hit, the highest level, and how many passive skill points you can receive to see if you can like really branch out any way you want to go and do what you want. But at least in the context of like, I'm playing as a duelist, I have strength and dexterity as my main attributes. I can even branch out and do like more intelligence things and go a different route that may be like more range type of duelist for some reason, or something in that regard, if I really wanted to go that route with a passive skill tree. Now, the passive skill tree is going to be more specific to your attributes and less of like your abilities. Some of your passive skill points may increase like the range of your attacks or your block percentage or your accuracy percentage, etc. And so it's more of those passive type of attributes rather than like an active skill that you press and click on, which hence passive skill tree. So I would say your character archetype almost is built through the passive skill tree, while your ability and rotation is built through your gems and sockets. So that is one thing that I found, pretty honestly overwhelming, especially as a casual player. Like it's a lot to take in, and this is probably the most complex thing. Like you kind of need almost like, I feel like an Excel spreadsheet to figure out what is going to be the most optimum way to build this. And that can be kind of a negative, especially for a casual player, which I'll get more into the negative aspects of gameplay. Okay, so negative aspects of gameplay. So there is one aspect of gameplay that I would like to cover, and it's over just some of the negative components of the gameplay itself. And I'm going to be saying these as negatives, even though this may be something as positive for those who are not necessarily in a casual setting. But given that I had tried this casually, one thing that can be pretty negative is just the overall massive and overwhelming size of the passive skill tree. I honestly don't think it's for the faint of heart. And even I hear later on that it helps to follow a guide, and requiring a guide for viable builds may make it difficult to have full freedom over that feeling of wanting to be casual and not feeling like you need to invest a lot of like research into the game per se to quote get the most out of that build that you're trying to do and get the most out of the game. So looking up guides may feel like reading a device manual in this case, and just add in that kind of extra stress or overhead if you are looking to come at this in a casual perspective. Another aspect is passive skill trees that I would say I don't really enjoy as much, or find that this could be improved upon, which to their credit, I think it is more accessible in the Settlers of Kalguur season, is just the concept of respec points. So if you're wanting to do a respec on your passive skill tree during kind of the main flow or the main almost campaign or acts of the game, you'll be rewarded these passive respec points that allow you to then kind of just change a couple points here and there. And by level 20, 29 or 30 per se, you may have like, let's say 30 points, one per level, and you may only have like 5 respec points or something like that you have to kind of go out and earn and almost farm to get those, just to be able to like quickly change your build. And I think this is kind of almost a dichotomy to me of between how the passive respec points work and how rigid the passive skill tree is, versus like the fluidity of you being able to change your gems and your abilities at will. So that just might be something that they decided on, like a kind of a game design decision to help balance between the rigidity of the passive skill tree and the fluidity of your abilities. But personally, I'm not a big fan of it, so I guess let me know in the comments below if you do find this aspect between the passive respec points, if you do find it fair and you do find it as, like, I would say, a net positive on the overall game design experience. Again, they did make this more accessible in Settlers of Kalguur, so instead of needing to farm these specific like passive respec points, you can respec based on gold that you acquire throughout the game. And another one with the inventory, I wish there was some type of sorting. It's just annoying to me. Just UI and inventory and filtering is just not quite there yet. I would say overall negative aspects of gameplay are almost fairly minor compared just to the overall experience of gameplay in general, right? I do find this game to be super fun to play, super almost responsive and tactile in how I feel when I'm playing a class. The ability to really have that freedom to play the way that you want to play in whatever class that you choose to play as, that to me is really where this game shines. And so even though you may have like the negatives on the passive skill tree, if you are willing to kind of put the time into it to learn more about what works best for how you want to play, then it might become like a pretty minor negative aspect of the gameplay. Now, what I would like to talk about next is the monetization of Path of Exile. So as it is currently, it is a free-to-play video game, which means that you actually don't pay a dime to play it, but there are some ways that they do monetize the audience and try to at least make sure that the lights stay on for the studio. So one of the ways that they do that is through a microtransaction shop. So there is a microtransaction shop. Now I would say a majority of the items that I find within the MTX shop are going to be more on appearance or quality of life, are kind of the two categories that I find most stuff falling under. So an example for appearance is that you may have like skill effects, for example, as like there is an ability that they say is called Flame Dash that you can acquire, and they have a skill effect that will change that Flame Dash effect into what's called like a Roach Flame Dash effect. So just like small things, if you're interested in really like customizing and making your character look even cooler to how you think looks cool, then you have the ability to do that through appearance based microtransactions, and that includes like gear and other ability effects, etc. So if you're into that and you like to like really customize each one of your abilities, your appearance, your character, they have a lot of options for that within the microtransaction shop. So for quality of life, a lot of these things are going to be falling under just like increased stash tabs. So you can buy stash tabs and just make your life a little bit easier for managing all of the different items you're going to pick up across Wraeclast in the world. So for example, your gyms, there's like gym stash tabs, flask stash tabs, it's hard for me to say, tongue twister, and currency stash tabs. So you kind of have more of this like pay for convenience rather than pay to win. And even just with the current tabs I have, like you can set this up yourself. It's not like you don't have, at least to my knowledge, like you don't have the ability to kind of like either get some way close to what the microtransaction stash tabs are by doing it manually. But I think like if you don't want to pay money for that, you can still enjoy the experience, and you just may be fiddling with those, your storage a bit more. That's it, right? Another quality of life item that they added is like if you wanted to create extra characters, you can buy extra character slots. So again, overall, I would say monetization is really just to say again, pay for convenience to me more than pay to win. And I'm still having fun in the game, right? Without having to spend any money so far. So I haven't really bought anything from the shop. I just kind of browsed it and looked around. And I don't think that my experience is really that hindered without having to buy items or quality of life items. I think like I don't feel that personally like that much out of the, that much inconvenienced for it. Like I don't think they designed the game around to make it like inconvenienced on purpose per se, which is nice. Like some games you may come across will have like things that they add into the game itself to make it feel more inconvenient by design, and then they make you pay for stuff to like get over like some pretty other annoying things. So that's one thing that I do enjoy. I would say with the monetization is that they do a good job of like keeping it a microtransaction shop, more for pay for convenience than pay to win, and still giving you enough freedom to kind of enjoy the game as a free-to-play game itself. Now I would like to talk about the current season that's running, Settlers of Kalguur. So as a recap, Settlers of Kalguur revolves around establishing Kingsmarch as a new town to trade between settlers that are coming from Kalguur and Wraeclast. So the features that I personally tried out within the season are primarily the city management. So this gives you the ability to level up a port, smelting, runesmithing, farming, mining stations are the ones that I think I've had the opportunity to enable and also kind of play around with. And there are other quality of life improvements that came with the season as well, specifically, which I kind of talked about before, is the ability to respec with gold for your passive skill trees. I only did like a couple of points, I think, but just the I would say the massive quality of life improvement to be able to respec with gold is a huge plus to the season. And I would say overall, the season is fantastic to me. I've enjoyed even just the early experiences of it and just really being able to play with the city management aspect of it. And this has given me still a great sense of progression, just leveling up the town and also having it be how it's kind of intertwined into the existing world of Path of Exile. So speaking specifically on city management, I find this as an excellent addition into the game. It adds another farming gameplay loop that I think really rewards you again to just go out more into the world, kill more mobs, etc. So Settlers of Kalguur enables you to be able to gain gold by killing mobs in the world, basically. So as I just said, it gives you another reason to just kind of go around having fun and nuking mobs. Those mobs will give you gold, and that gold is what you will use to kind of upgrade your city and or respec your talent points if you want. So that aspect of gaining gold, again, just another great way to get you back out there, killing mobs, feeling powerful, and getting more powerful, and improving the city management aspect. Another thing that they've added into just the world itself are part of like the events of ore nodes to claim. So you have like two different resources through mining that you can capture, or Calcum and Crimson Iron nodes are the ones that I personally seen throughout there. And it just makes a nice, beautiful link to the city management, to the existing Wraeclast world itself. So being able to go and claim these nodes and be able to gain these resources out in the world and not just feel like you're isolated to Kingsmarch to facilitate and mine all this stuff. Again, it's just a great way to like another reason to go out there and kill shit. Like that's what I would say. So overall, I think that even just like, it's one thing to add in a season and a bunch of new features that feel very isolated. I personally think that they did a fantastic job to have these features feel very well integrated into the game and not just isolated as a different, a separate gameplay loop that doesn't really mesh well into the existing Path of Exile world. So as I'm coming to my concluding remarks, I would say overall Path of Exile has been an immensely fun experience, even as a casual player from the very beginning. The sense of progression I felt from level 1, I find it very rare to feel that way in other games, and I think Path of Exile nailed it with this. from the beginning. You have your gear that you have to find, and you have these constant decisions about which abilities you want to socket into your gear that make you feel even more in control of that class fantasy and trying to play the way you want to play, and feeling very rewarded from very early levels on, you find a gem that drops and that's like super exciting, or even just like the quest rewards, you get a gem. What ability am I going to choose, right? Having these decisions, conscious decisions to help you guide the playstyle that you want to play, just makes it fun to do quests, to go out and kill mobs and try to figure out, you know, what is the progression I want to take and how do I want to play this character throughout, you know, my play. I also, even though I did bring this up as part of the kind of a negative of the passive skill tree, that, you know, maybe later on if you're min-maxing you may need a guide, honestly, from Act 1, I haven't felt that way at all. I feel like I can still do a lot of damage. I feel like I can still kill stuff with my current, probably very crappy build, and I don't feel the need to follow a guide. And I feel like I can still go and destroy a bunch of mobs, and that's what's fun about ARPGs, and they allow me to do that, at least as a casual player in this setting that I have currently. And also as another win to me, Settlers of Kalguur season is just such, honestly, a fantastic time to jump into Path of Exile. It adds a new paradigm of fun into this game with the city management aspects, and honestly into the genre, which I haven't really felt in other ARPGs, at least that I know of or had the chance to play through. The city management aspects and just the quality of life improvements that the season brings, overall net win for Path of Exile at the moment. And, you know, give it a shot and take it slow. You know, as a casual playthrough, I felt like I didn't need to rush to endgame. I felt like I could take my time, and I still had that sense of progression. I had that sense that I was having fun at this level, and I was satisfied with just progressing slowly on the time that I had, again, as my casual walkthrough. And so that's just my take, and let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with anything. Let me know if you've had a chance to play through Settlers of Kalguur this season, and that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please smash that like button, and if you want to stay tuned for casual strolls through RPG and other games, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching this. This is Never Late, and it's never late to game. Peace out.